American. I say American because when people ask, what are you? What is the first thing that you say? I say American. And then they'll ask again, no, what are you? And I'll look at them and say, American. I do that because I get offended at the fact that I have some anonymous person thinking they have the right to ask me what I am, because they wouldn't be asked the same question, whether it's a white person or a black person or a Mexican person. They wouldn't be asked. So I take offense at the fact that people come to me and they ask that question. And my response is that I'm an American. And then I will ask them, because if they want me to answer them, they need to tell me who they are first. This has happened with a lot of people, and it comes up now because I want to get to this question. There's in the United States, there's a lot of debate going on about FBA ADOS just being black, or and then we break it down, because my thing is we break it down into somebody being multi-generationally mixed, and then those who have, a blended background. So my first thought on this, why I'm doing the stream, is the fact that if we know who we are, then we will be able to be more confident and do better for ourselves and our kids. I fortunately was able to have a family that explained to me about my entire history, or the history that they knew that could go back, which was comfortable to make me feel confident in my phenotype. So obviously you can look at me and someone will say, okay, well, let me first say that my background is various West African nations, Scottish, Welsh, just a small bit of Irish, but I really come down about 50-50. I mean, exactly 50-50. So on the being West African and being European. So, but my phenotype comes off as being a white guy. But I grew up in an all-black environment. And people ask, well, do you have any white relatives? No, I don't know any white relatives, because, like I said, I'm an MGM. So as an MGM person, we just didn't know white people as family members. So I asked the question, when you are asked, what are you? Do you first say American? And I say that now because if you don't say that, and you say, well, I'm African American, or I'm this or that, you're giving other people a heads up over you. Because as an MGM, as a black person, as a Creole, as whatever these other mixed groups are within the black-white mix, we have been here before this country actually came into existence. So for other people to come over and ask, what are you? And you're first generation, you're second generation, you have no right. to necessarily ask that. So the other reason that I'm bringing this up is for this reason: being an American. Why stress American? Because I have had the ability to travel, and I have been to Haiti. That was I grew up in Detroit, so my first international trip was just going across the border, which was like going to across the street, basically, when you go across the river into Windsor. So I say my first trip was to Haiti. Um, the other international trips, I've been to probably 4 or 5 African countries. I've been to Europe. I've been to the islands, and I've been to Central America and South America, Mexico, some Mexico basically, and then Peru and some other places. So I ask American because online you see a whole lot of discussion going on with respect to Africans, people coming from African countries, and and the debate of them asking you only or them saying you don't even know who you are, and they say this not to me, uh, but as I'm listening. Now, if I get on there and I cam up, or they see this picture that's on the screen right now, they'll say I'm a Mzungu, right? As a way to say, oh, he's a white boy, right? It's the same thing that I grew up with growing up in the city, right? So, but here's the issue that I am trying to get to. I was on a panel and I was stating we're having a debate on FBAs and ADOs and that kind of thing. And you've got a lot of people saying FBAs are a hate group or that kind of thing, and I took exception to that. And I don't know really a whole lot about them. I only know that I've looked up the definition. I've seen this guy, Tariq Nasheed, maybe once or twice, maybe for a total of 5 minutes. But the discussion has been fervent online between FBA and ADOS that I had to go in and do some research. So I looked up the definitions, and I think both definitions are pretty accurate, right? FBA meaning Foundational Black American, so that you are of Black background, but your family has been here and they were enslaved. ADOS tends to be even more specific definition: American descendants of slavery, right? So I think when I listen to these debates going on, the two people that had these movements, Carnell and Nasheed, I think what they're trying to do is to say, look, we have been here. We are the only group of people. We're not immigrants. So don't put us in the immigration category. And the reason this debate is going on is because so many immigrants come to this country and they take advantage of the civil rights, the institutions, colleges, or taking advantage of being able to go to college, or even being able to get jobs based upon having a minority status. So the debate it gets to be really heated, and now you've got even blacks from America. When I say that, I don't include people who are from Africa or the Caribbean or some other place that just got here a generation or two before. I'm referring to people who are of the enslaved background. But even within that, you've got the Pan-African movement, you've got this movement and that movement. And my argument is still that everybody, whether you are a Creole, mixed, red bone, brass ankle, black, uh, Gullah person, or whatever you call yourself, the first thing out of your mouth should be that you're an American, because that is the country that we know. And we've been here, some of us, 500 years, 300 years, etc. Right? And the reason I say that is because we were captured and enslaved not only by whites, but by those African leaders that were complicit in the slave trade. And this is where you get a whole lot of pushback from Black Americans who want to say they're Pan-Africans. And you get it from people who are from African countries, right? That's not true. Blacks weren't involved in the slave trade. Well, I've actually been able to read and research not only books here in the United States, but also through my travels, being in an African country or two. And one specific instance is I picked up a book in Sierra Leone. And it was written by a Sierra Leonean. And the name of the book is A New History of Sierra Leone by Joe A.D. Alley, or Alley. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing the name, right? And it gives a pretty thorough background of what happened during the slave trade back in Sierra Leone and other parts of Africa. So if I can, and before I'll read something to you that explains exactly what happened during the slave trade. And this is on page 35 of the book that I have referenced, How Trade Was Conducted. Coastal rulers had welcomed the European traders in the hope that they too would benefit from the trade. So they arranged that all major trade transactions should be carried out only on the coast. The European trader was therefore forbidden to go into the interior to trade and had to pay rents and other tribute to the coastal rulers for permission to trade. The ruler was the trader's landlord, and the trader became the ruler's stranger. The landlord, being the ruler, was responsible for his stranger's security as well as for his actions. As trade developed, more European goods were exchanged for ivory, beeswax, cowhide, camwood, some gold, and slaves. Some dishonest traders, like John Hawkins, had tried to kidnap slaves and run away with them. In order to discourage this bad practice, coastal rulers began to demand hostages of ships' crew as insurance against ungentlemanly conduct by European slave traders. So I have to ask, how do you answer that question? Regardless of whether it's asked, when you think about yourself, do you think that you are an American first? I have been saying that I'm an American all of my life. And then after that, we can get down into parsing uh, my genetic makeup. But if you don't, as a black person in America, as a Creole in America, as a multi generationally mixed person in America, say that you are American first, then I think we're dealing with something that in our mind mentally keeps us from seeing our potential. Pan Africanists will tell me you're screwed up. And just as there was a guy that was on Guru's panel, it's a very interesting show. But you get this guy, and he's from he lives in Europe because his accent is British, right? And he will argue, and he argued with me. You don't even know who you are. You call yourself you people FBA and you ADOS. You saying that you come from slaves. Well, wait a minute. You saying that you're from a royal family were involved in. Oh no, we weren't do that. But you wanna. And he's saying this not only to me, but other people that are saying FBA and ADOS, not to say they belong to the group, but saying they agree with the terminology. He's saying now you're bragging. Have you ever heard anybody want to brag because they were a slave? So you can't win these people from Africa because they're the ones. And the other thing that this guy said was, he said, you must be an agent. Wait a minute. The only agent is the person that wants to work against Americans who are standing up and making very direct differences between who we are as Black Americans and who you are as an immigrant. And we are standing up trying to say we no longer are going to allow people to come to the United States and take advantage of what Black Americans, Black people who come from the enslaved historical race are. Takes me to another thing. There, within this group, right, Africans will say, well, Americans aren't like us, right? But they want to have it both ways by saying, let's link up. We need to be working together. No, not really. We don't. And we need to be working together on a global thing, but not internal to the United States. Not internal when it comes to the fact that we are moving to make strides upon what we've already built, but people from the Caribbean and African countries, Central and South America, are coming and saying that they are due the same benefits, the same things that American Blacks are. It's just not true. You can't come to the United States and say you should be included in a minority status because you were given a benefit when you were allowed to come into this country and become a citizen. Civil rights laws and affirmative action specifically was to address those who were enslaved in the United States. I'm not going to take anything away from you because of what happened to you in the Caribbean, Central, and South America. You had your enslavement issues as well. But you can't come to the United States and claim that you should be given affirmative action benefits when you didn't, and your family, your lineage did not deal with what was going on in the United States. So that's one. As for blacks and the mixed people in this country, I need to now speak specifically to the Creoles, the multi-generationally mixed people, and the brass ankles, whatever you call yourselves, golden people. I don't care what you call yourselves. But we specifically really do need to lead with the fact that we are American. And then after that, if black people don't want to do that, that's fine. But we need to specifically lead with the fact that we are American. And then if we want to explain to somebody asking us after that, we can explain. If you don't want to explain, you can tell them to kiss off. And I'm being real nice and gentle about that. But here's the other thing that we need to do. I've been on Capitol Hill. I've been to the committee that deals with the census in February. We need to get the paperwork done so that our category, which was mulatto and colored, we need a new descriptive on the census. And I know we are going back and forth right now between mulatto, Creole, and what have you. And we're fighting each other, excuse me, about what name we should go by. But regardless of where we fall, we need to get that back on the census. Because if anybody has listened to some of my streams, you will know that I'm very irritated with the fact that this MENA group, Middle Eastern, North African, have been able to get themselves onto or created a census category for themselves. It just does not make sense. Where since 1850, I believe, was the first category, first time mulatto or colored really showed up on the United States Census. And for another group of people to walk in and now say that they are due a census category over us when our category was there back in the 1850s is outrageous. So I will be talking with some of the other people that are online, some who have hold these, I guess, backroom chats or something. And so one in particular person that I think can filter out those who are of a Creole MGM background that we can then organize that group so that we can then go to Congress and get our category placed back on the census. And I'd really like this done within the next couple of years, because the census, as you know, comes out in 2030. And so for the next census, we really do need to have that category back on the census, regardless of what ADOS and FBA groups do. We need our group, because here's the last thing I'm going to end on, right? It's long since passed that we as mixed people can speak up for black people. They, like Africans talk about black people, they will say we can't speak up for them. It's a truth. And if anybody wants to argue, that's fine. But it's long since passed that this group isn't discounting us and saying, I mean, they go so far as to say Malcolm X isn't, he's mixed. And if you think they're saying that about them, look at me. I've already been told in my years that I can't speak up for black people. And so throughout history in the United States, where you've had the main movers of civil rights were people that had mixed heritage, then now we cannot speak up for black issues. We really do need to push for ourselves. I think it would be of a great assistance to blacks who are not mixed or blacks who don't want us in their space, because there are only really two groups of people that should be that affirmative action laws should be addressing, and that is those who are Creole, multi-generationally mixed, and African Americans. If you're not in that group, then we don't need to discuss you having any minority status nor any affirmative action rights. With that, I will leave you guys to ponder my thoughts on this string.